Economic Affairs, but also in charge of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs while Limbo, the Foreign Minister, gets better. So this is my interview on how Bhutan is mainstreaming happiness in its own humble way as part of the international community, and I'm trying to understand a bit of its foreign affairs and how it's mainstreamed there. To begin with, congratulations, Limbo, on the passing of the resolution, the unbinding one, to mainstream happiness. Could you please tell us what it is about and what it would mean for the international community?
Well, as you may be aware, since the early 1970s, when our fourth king ascended the throne, what he stated to the nation was that as king and as the head of the state and government then in Bhutan, he would promote the gross national happiness of his people.
I'm just going to check whether it's on. I have a bad feeling. Okay. Yes, it's on.
Okay. That he would promote the gross national happiness of his people rather than pure gross national product. And since then, Bhutan has adopted gross national happiness as a development philosophy. Now, GNH believes that every citizen aspires to be happy, and that therefore it is the duty of the state to provide the enabling environment for its citizens to pursue happiness. And GNH is about developments that are sustainable and finding a balance between the material and emotional and spiritual needs of human beings. So it's basically striking a balance between economic development and the needs of the mind and the soul.
True.
And so we've been following this. But since for us also this was a development philosophy new to us, for many decades, at least 2-3 decades, we practiced this. We adopted GNH as our development philosophy, and we planned development in keeping with this philosophy. We were not confident to be able to promote it in a big way to the outside world to begin with. But over the years, especially in the last decade or so, there have been growing interest in this development paradigm in GNH. And I guess the development path followed by the world at large, we have seen that it is not at the end providing the happiness, at least not to the extent that we would like to provide to the citizens. And if you see the way that the economic development is being pursued, and when you even talk of people-centric development, it is not people as a whole, or the needs as a whole, but it's more as people's requirement of material wealth, people's requirement of economic growth. It's perceived, and not as holistically as GNH, which looks at basically economic development, balancing it with the human needs. And so this interest has been growing, and as you know, in the last few years, many conferences on GNH have been held, both outside. I mean, we had in Canada, we had in Brazil, we had in Thailand, and then few in the country where large number of participants from all over the world, from all continents took part in. And if you see in the last, at least in the last year or two, there have been even more conferences and more interest on GNH. The most recent was here, the GNH and Economic Development, which was held just this month, with Jeffrey Sachs here. And we believe that by and large, the development path that we are pursuing generally in the world at large, is a development path which is not sustainable.
True.
We are consuming natural resources at such an accelerated rate that nature is not able to replenish them. And in GNH, one of the considerations while undertaking development is that there must be intergenerational sharing.
Yes.
That the present generation must share the natural resources with future generations.
Yes.
And this again is a concept which promotes sustainable development. And when you talk of future generations, it's not, we're not talking about aliens.
So
we're talking about our own children and our grandchildren. So we need to share resources with them and leave some resources for them also to utilize for their benefit. But the current trend is that we are exploiting the resources at unsustainable rates. We're consuming too much. And this basically will lead to a lot of problems in time to come, and it will have serious impact. I mean, the last economic recession that we're still reeling through in the last few years, well, we may recover from it, but if we continue to exploit resources the way we are doing, we could again get hit back and hit so badly that we may not be able to recover.
So what was the scope of the resolution and how was it received?
So now, since the international community is showing more and more interest in GNH, basically the international community is looking for a more sustainable path of development.
Yes.
And what they've been pursuing, they are realizing that it may not be that sustainable. So they are examining maybe GNH will provide that path, the sustainable path. And so because of the growing interest, we initially last year in 2010 during the United Nations General Assembly, our Prime Minister proposed to include happiness as the 9th Millennium Development Goal. We already have 8. As the 9th. Because at the end, even the 8 must ultimately look at the well-being of the people and happiness of the people. All those 8 development. And if you include happiness as the 9th, then it completes the circle. And all those development leading to happiness of the people at large. And we are very happy that in July this year, the General Assembly, without even taking a vote, there was unanimous support, accepted and adopted a standalone resolution. And it is not a 9th Millennium Development Goal now. It's a standalone resolution. And I think it makes sense because the Millennium Development Goals are time-bound. By 2050.
And they're all constituents of happiness.
Constituents of happiness. And we would complete them and outgrow them by 2050. But happiness and the development path thereafter has to be pursued. So that is why this has come out as a standalone resolution. Of course, this unanimous adoption of this resolution, it has provided a lot of pride to us that Bhutan, we're a small country, we're the least developed country. We even have a smaller population, but we are a responsible member of the international community. And in whatever way we can, we must contribute to the well-being of our planet and all people on this planet. And we are not able to provide aid and financial support, and nor are we in a very good position to provide other means of support. But if our development philosophy can guide or be of some use to other nations, to other governments, we would have played our role in contributing to the international community. So we are happy that we could make this contribution. At the same time, we also realize that it puts tremendous responsibility on us now. All are going to look up to us as to how to proceed and how to ensure that development leads to happiness of the people.
Yes.
And we have to show by example.
True.
And we have to show the way. So we have a huge responsibility. There is a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
But I think together, if we all agree that this may be a more sustainable path of development, it may also be a more meaningful and wholesome kind of development.
Yes.
And GNH at the end, provides a lot of importance to human values,
Yes.
human
Of course.
conditions, and that the social integration,
Yes.
the security in
So
the
a
family,
higher honor, or honor
security
needs
in the
to
family, security in the society,
Yes.
rather than leaving all our security to savings
True.
and to insurances,
True.
who will take care of all our
True.
medical and other needs.
Like you said, Bhutan's a very interesting example because it's practiced what it's now preaching for since the 1970s when His Majesty came out with it, and slowly but surely there have been indicators. So it's not as though it's not, obviously values are integral to GNH, but it's also linked now with the jargon of positivistic development. It's made that bridge because although it is a working process, in progress, there are a lot of indicators that are coming out, like the MPI and the various things the CBS is working on. Now there are places like England that are like the United Kingdom under David Cameron are now looking at a happiness index. And Bhutan's done so much and invested so much into its intellectual understanding and practice of gross national happiness. Don't you think that it can also teach these countries, if they are willing to be taught based on its experience, but also because all knowledge is cumulative, sort of share their understanding with it? What steps have been taken?
Well, I will not talk about teaching other countries,
Sure.
but we are willing to share. And that is why we welcome conferences, and even in the recent conference, we had people from the United Kingdom participating, and from France, Canada, etc. So we have always been willing to share, and we look at it not as something that we have to teach the world, but it's something that we would like to share with the world, and it is for all governments and countries and people to judge for themselves.
I'm going to move the camera closer, Limbo, because
To judge for themselves and decide whether they would like to work with us.
yes. Right. Sorry, Limbo. I'm just not a technical person.
But since I'm talking to you,
Yes.
I'm going to be most of the time facing away from the camera.
In a way. Sorry.
Maybe you could sit here.
Yeah, that'd be good because we need the voices to carry. Right.
Yeah, you could sit here. Yes. So we're willing to share, and work with.
Have any steps been taken to contact Mr. Cameron, Mr. Sarkozy, all these people who are trying to mainstream happiness?
Well, we have been in touch with some of the people in their circle, but direct contact, I'm not aware at this point.
Okay, I really think that they can learn a lot from what Bhutan's experience. Also, Limbo, there's also, so when people think about Bhutan's foreign relations, they think of a landlocked country, which is also an LDC, right? But Bhutan has broken the paradigm in that it's an LDC with the most heartening macroeconomic development progress shown thus far, according to the Assistant Secretary General and the Under Secretary General at the roundtable meeting. So do you think that gross national happiness and the implementation of it can turn the odds in LDC or UDC's favor? And if so, how?
Well, I would look at it this way, that GNH basically is not something for any level of economic development countries. You cannot say GNH is good for LDCs, but not good for more developed economies. What we feel is that GNH is a sustainable development path, and that it will ultimately provide true happiness to the people, that it will work on ensuring that human values, human relationships are not lost. And I would look at human needs as no barriers in terms of the level of economic development or the size of your country or the size of your economy or the military might. I think human beings are not different whether you are in a more developed society or a lesser developed. Our needs are similar, and at the end of it, our values are shared. So I would say that what I would look at is that if you follow GNH, it will lead you to a more sustainable path of development. I would not say that GNH will get you out of LDC status. I think even for example an advanced economy, I think if they adopted GNH as a development philosophy,